What up, everybody? This is NYG Jeff ET 3285 back with another New York Giants story. And today we just got ourselves a pretty decent sized restructured contract for Giants cornerback Adoree Jackson. Now, Adoree Jackson was one of the big signings that Dave Gettleman ended up making last year in his attempt to try to take the New York Giants back to the playoffs in 2021. So, Dave Gettleman ended up giving Adoree Jackson a pretty decent sized contract. So what ended up happening, since the Giants were in such a cap-strapped position, Joe Schoen ended up taking some of Adoree Jackson's contract and converting it into a signing bonus for the next few years. So, according to Field Yates of NFL.com, the Giants converted $8.965 million of Adoree Jackson's contract and turned it into a signing bonus. This move overall also includes a $5.98 million amount of cap space added to the New York Giants' available cap space as we speak. Now, what this might indicate is that the New York Giants view Adoree Jackson as a future big-time piece for this defense moving forward for Wink Martindale. And Adoree Jackson was arguably the best cornerback on the New York Giants last year. The only issue with Adoree Jackson recently has just been health. The guy has had issues a little bit staying on the field completely for the entire season, but when he's out there, he is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. So, what this indicates right here with this restructure from Joe Schoen is that they view Adoree Jackson as a future big piece in Wink Martindale's system, and he did have avoidable years added to the end of his contract. So good for Adoree Jackson. I mean, Giants had to find a way to create any type of cap space they could. So they figured this was the best move to go in terms of when it came to the big contracts like James Bradberry, Kenny Golladay, Leonard Williams, and Adoree Jackson. They ended up choosing Adoree Jackson as the one to restructure because they view Adoree Jackson to be the guy that is more of a long-term piece, especially for this defense for Wink Martindale. Now, some of the other issues that could be going forward, as this will still not be enough for some future moves that the Giants need to make, is that, according to Dan Duggan, according to Dan Duggan of The Athletic, this team still needs to find a way to create a little bit more cap space. They need $12 million overall in cap space to be able to sign their entire draft class. They'll also need at least an additional $1.5 million when the cap expands for the 53-man roster becomes available. So they'll need to at least create some more cap space besides the $12 million that they'll need to sign their draft class. And that's not even including an additional $3 million in cap space for when the practice squad needs to be signed to contracts, when eventually they get to that after the draft and closer to the season. Plus, you still have to include some extra money that you will need in order to be able to sign some players, or in order to pay some players when you eventually elevate them from the practice squad during the season to the main roster. And that also includes some possible injury replacements too. So the New York Giants still have a lot of work to do in terms of creating more cap space and being able to function for the upcoming season. So that could still mean there's more moves on the way. Do they potentially take one of Kenny Galladay's contracts? And do they potentially restructure that? Thinking that maybe they're hoping for a renaissance year with Kenny Golladay, that he's gonna with Mike Kafka's system, and with Brian Dable there now, that maybe they can unleash and unlock Kenny Galladay's true abilities. Maybe they think about restructuring Leonard Williams' deal. Leonard Williams could still be a good guy in this Wink Martindale system. And he can also be somebody that could be a sturdy defensive end / defensive tackle in this defense. So maybe they feel he's still pretty young enough that they can restructure his contract for at least a couple of an additional year or two, and creating maybe a decent sized signing bonus to his deal. Now, in terms of some other moves that could potentially be made, there's still the James Bradberry situation. There's been a lot of rumblings that they might think about giving Bradberry an extension because they just have not received anything on the market for what they're looking for in terms of James Bradberry's trade, what he might be traded for, that they're just not finding anything to their liking. So maybe it's possible you give him a 1-year extension, like I mentioned in previous videos, that he might spread his cap hit out over the next couple of years. Or there's still the very strong possibility that they end up trading him, which is still very much on the table, and they're just waiting until it gets closer to the draft to find a way to finally strike, maybe getting a second or third round pick. There's also some other guys on this roster they might be able to cut in order to create some more cap space. They could cut a Darius Slayton, who has been a very solid receiver his first year, but has slowly gone down. Not 1,000% his fault, but he has had issues with drops and also concentration. So they might end up cutting him, save $2.5 million on the cap, and try to find a replacement in the draft for him. They could end up having an injury settlement with Nick Gates after he had that horrendous leg injury last year in Game 2 against the Washington football team. That they might decide that Nick Gates might not be able to fully recover from that injury that he suffered, and maybe it's best to just try to work out an injury settlement with him and save about another additional $2 million. And maybe they also thinking about cutting an O'Shane Simmons, who is a very ineffective defensive end / outside linebacker for the team since they drafted him out of Old Dominion in 2019. So they might think that this guy is not part of the future, and it might be easier to just cut him right now, save at least 1.5 to 2 million extra in cap space, and then just replace him in the draft with a cheaper option. So there's still a lot of work to do in terms of creating some more cap space for Joe Shane, for Brandon Brown, in order to be able to get some more available cap, not just to sign the draft picks, but when it comes for the 53-man roster later on, if they want to maybe possibly add an additional signing or two. When it comes to practice squad players, they need to get them signed eventually, so that's going to cost some additional money. So there's still some more moves that are going to be made in this offseason. The real question is, are there going to be any more trades on the horizon? Is there going to be any more restructures besides Adoree Jackson? Are we going to see Leonard Williams' contract restructured? Are we going to see Kenny Galladay's contract restructured? Are we going to end up seeing possibly James Bradbury get extended another year? We're going to find out with about 3 weeks until the NFL draft. We're going to find out what other moves are going to be happening and see what happens. So if you like this video, please hit the like button on the bottom, subscribe to NYG Jeffy T 3285, and leave a comment in the comment section below and tell me what you think of this recent Adoree Jackson signing. What do you think it holds for the future in terms of what his role will be in Wink Martindale's defense, and what other possible moves you are looking forward to seeing the Giants make before the 2022 NFL Draft, and who you think is not long for this New York Giants roster when it comes to the upcoming 2022 season. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like and subscribe, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy it. Take it easy. Peace.